The 2026 World Cup is still 3 years away, so I thought, why don't I work out who is going to win it? And there is nothing more accurate than a marble race. First we have to go through the qualifiers, and Asia gets 8 direct and 1 playoff spot. I have also split the higher and lower ranked teams so that the higher ranked teams get a better chance of getting through. Of course, some of these teams did well in the last World Cup, especially Japan, and they would be expected to qualify here today. We're going to look now at some of the lower ranked teams, like the country with the soon-to-be world's highest population, India. Will China stop their chances of being top spot in this too? On the other side, we have some interesting teams such as North Korea, who have made the World Cup twice. And we also have one of the world's largest countries, Indonesia. We are about to get underway. Remember that 8 teams qualify directly. The higher ranked teams get a boost to the second level in this course. Looks like an expected good start for South Korea and Japan as they enter the third level. Japan look like they are crushing this course, just like they did to Germany and Spain at the last World Cup. Japan still are 2 levels further than everyone else, as no one is getting even to Zidane's headbutt. Japan go on to the second to last level, as South Korea and Indonesia, surprisingly, have both entered the level behind Japan very quickly. Japan are still too good as they enter the final level. All they need to do is reach the bottom. Indonesia and Uzbekistan have reached the last level with Japan to see if they can gain top spot. Lots of teams have entered now, it can be anyone's race here. But Japan are working down the level nicely as they look to gain top spot and a ticket to the World Cup. It looks like it was a close finish, as Thailand also enters to get their first ever place in the World Cup in their history. Uzbekistan and South Korea also confirm their place in the World Cup in 4th and 5th place, behind Bahrain, who claim 3rd. Looks like a tough battle for 6th, as Oman and Mongolia both make their first World Cup appearance, meaning there is 1 spot left, which looks like it was going to be taken by Saudi Arabia, but China cheat and claim it in the last seconds. Which means Saudi Arabia have to play in the playoff race now. Here is the final look at the teams. Notable teams that have missed out include Australia, Iran and Qatar, who all made the last World Cup but will miss out this time. Make sure you comment below if your team made it, and also leave a like and subscribe while you're down there. We have also got some news that there was a massive pile-up on the first round as teams found it hard to progress. Unlucky to all of those teams. Make sure you subscribe to my channel and also check out my latest diss track on the Animationologist. If you are not a Mort lover like he is, make sure you subscribe to me, and make sure you don't join the dark side. And by the way, if this video doesn't get 100 views, then this will be my last ever marble race. Anyway, back into the video. Africa is our next qualifying race with 9 places on offer and an extra 1 in the playoff race. There are a lot of strong teams in this race, including Morocco, who made the semi-finals in the last World Cup, as well as Senegal, who won the last African Cup. Some of the weaker teams include Madagascar, which reminds me that you should check out my latest diss track called Mort Lover. Anyway, enough of the ads on the other side. We have Liberia, who have never made a World Cup, despite George Weah playing for them. Some other contenders for qualification could be 2010 host South Africa, who were unlucky to miss the last World Cup too. We are about to start our second race of the video, as 9 spots and a playoff spot are up for grabs in this race. It looks like we have a couple of teams who are stuck straight away. This is a nightmare start for Mali, who look like they will be held back by Tunisia from the World Cup once again. Further up the race, it looks like Morocco will be the first team into the 5th level along with Nigeria. 2 strong African teams. Ivory Coast join them and almost takes over them as they bounce around the green ball. Although they got close, it will look like it will be Morocco who will take on the second to last level first. Benin also join Nigeria and Ivory Coast. It looks like a slow race so far. However, Morocco are on the last level and are looking to finish the race in first place. Benin, Ivory Coast and Gambia all are getting close to that last level, as Morocco look like they will grab first place and a ticket to the World Cup. Now several teams are in the final round, it's just a matter of who will make it to the bottom first. And it looks like second place will go to Madagascar. To celebrate, I suggest to watch Mort Lover, which is not available on Spotify or iTunes, but still listen to it anyway. Ivory Coast also make it with Gambia, who will make their debut also. Tunisia also look like they will get a spot in the next round along with Nigeria. They are all starting to come in now as Benin grab 7th, Cameroon and South Africa get 8th and 9th. We still have one playoff spot left. Who will get it? It looks like it will be Cape Verde who will play in the playoff. It looks like there will be a mixture of big and smaller African nations competing. Some big teams that have missed out today are African champions and runners-up Senegal and Egypt. Algeria and Ghana also miss out on the World Cup despite being favorites to make it. Algeria looked so close to making the World Cup playoff, but just missed out to Cape Verde. Next up we have the continent where the competition will be hosted, North America. Which is why I have removed the hosts, Canada, Mexico and the United States, as they automatically make it to the World Cup. We could see some interesting teams make the World Cup as there are 3 places and 2 playoff spots to be competed for. Of course we have lots of British territories, and if you are a fan of this channel you would know we had some experience with these teams from the country marble race series. We are about to get started with Costa Rica and Panama surely being favorites to make the World Cup from this race. And we have started as the teams enter the levels. The top 18 teams get placed in the second level, so they have better odds of making the World Cup. Panama and Trinidad and Tobago are the first to enter the third round. Suriname also joins them, but there is a pile starting to appear in level 2 of the race which will massively slow teams down. Trinidad and Tobago and Honduras make the fourth round, which is a great start for them. Dominican Republic and Honduras both make the fifth level as well. Honduras look like they are on a roll at the moment, as both teams enter the second to last round now. Remember, only 3 teams can qualify directly and 2 from the playoff. Dominican Republic and Honduras are both finding their way down the last level, both looking to grab first place in this race. Panama also join them. Could they take top sport from them? Puerto Rico and Anguilla also join them. Any of these teams could make it. On level 6 we can see Bermuda getting close to the final round. They eventually make it along with El Salvador as teams approach the end of the level. Honduras take first place with Panama and Dominican Republic taking up the rest of the spots. There are still playoff spots left. The playoff spots will be taken by Bermuda and El Salvador as several teams all enter at once. It will be a shock that Costa Rica didn't make it out of this easy qualifying group, but Dominican Republic will make their first World Cup appearance. Puerto Rico and St. Lucia will be gutted they missed out as they finished at similar times to the playoff competitors, but they will have to try next time. South America is one of the most competitive qualifiers, with most teams planning on making the World Cup, and they will all be starting in level 2 except Ecuador due to their 3-point deduction in qualifiers. Brazil and Argentina are not only favorites to get to the World Cup, but can also be considered favorites to win the whole World Cup, as Argentina are the current holders. Ecuador have a big job to do today as they have to make up ground in this tough South American race. Venezuela would be wanting to qualify today as they are the only team not to do so. The race is about to start as most of the teams enter level 2 and Ecuador having to get into level 1. The holders Argentina enter the Diego Maradona room, which they should have the advantage for as Brazil unsurprisingly nails the Cafu room. Chile also join level 3 followed by Peru, who both missed out on the last World Cup and would be wanting to rejoin the party today. Bolivia also join just as Brazil leaves the room and onto level 4, with Peru joining Brazil behind and then overtake them. Peru go into level 5, which is just the start they were looking for, as Brazil and Bolivia join them afterwards. Peru are on a good run as they are just one level away from the final. Chile also join Peru as they both look to get those World Cup spots. Peru and Chile are now both on the final level as Brazil are not too far behind. Brazil are now in the final round as Venezuela, who have never made a World Cup, are one step from the final round. Peru and Brazil are both close to getting into the World Cup. But who will take first place? Peru win the race with Brazil coming behind them. 4 spots and a playoff spot are left. Chile almost make the bottom but choke right at the end. Venezuela, Bolivia and Colombia are all looking for the World Cup spots, with Chile too. But it looks like Argentina will beat them all to it as they grab 3rd place and a World Cup ticket. However, it was only just as Chile sneak in and grab 4th. Bolivia look like they will be the next team to qualify, as Colombia and Venezuela both seem to be stuck. With these two being stuck together, this could open a gap for Paraguay or even Ecuador to steal the last spot. Paraguay have entered the final level. Colombia and Venezuela need to free themselves quickly. Meanwhile, Ecuador and Uruguay are slowly catching up. Uruguay are now just 1 level away from catching up to Paraguay. But Ecuador come out of nowhere and enter the final level despite their deduction. It's a 3-way race here for the remaining direct and playoff spot. However, Paraguay smashes into Colombia and Venezuela, making them go free, but I don't any of them will be close to catching Ecuador, who will take the final direct spot with a massive comeback. Colombia seems to have come in the playoff spot. If I were them, I would blame it on Venezuela, who have missed out on the World Cup again. Now we have the Oceania Confederation with 1 direct and 1 playoff spot to be determined. Due to the lack of teams, only 3 will advance to level 2. New Zealand should be the favorites to qualify directly, as they have been to the World Cup twice and also going undefeated at the World Cup in 2010. Some other islands may stand a chance of getting top spot as the race is about to start. This race has a total of 11 teams, and if someone but New Zealand gets top spot, they will make the World Cup for the first time. It looks like that New Caledonia will be the first team into level 3, which will be a good start for them if they want to get either of the spots. New Zealand would be wanting to catch up quickly, as they don't want to miss out on these spots. Vanuatu surprisingly joins New Caledonia in the 3rd level, despite both of them starting on level 1. New Zealand finally makes the 3rd round with Samoa and Papua New Guinea. But New Caledonia leaves level 3 and gets to level 4 with Vanuatu. Vanuatu starts on level 5 as New Zealand and Fiji join New Caledonia on level 4. Now Papua New Guinea and New Zealand join Vanuatu on level 5. Those 3 move on to the 2nd to last level as New Caledonia tries to catch up to them. New Caledonia joins them and moves on to the final level together. New Zealand and Papua New Guinea both head down towards the bottom, followed by New Caledonia. Any of them could take top spot. New Zealand are coming in from the left and Papua New Guinea from the middle. It looks like they entered about at the same time, but the direct spot has been given to New Zealand, meaning Papua New Guinea gets 2nd and New Caledonia miss out. Now we are at the final qualifying group of Europe, which is probably the most interesting as we have lots of big teams in this race, all looking for just 16 World Cup spots. Now we are at the final qualifying group of Europe, which is probably the most interesting as we have lots of big teams in this race, all looking for just 16 World Cup spots. Of course, everyone knows all the big teams with lots of history in European football and the World Cup, and we also have teams like San Marino, who are still looking for their first competitive win. And we of course have Gibraltar, who is the icon of this channel and will be looking to perform well on their own channel. A team to watch out for is Norway, who seems to have a strong forward leading the team for this race. Since England are in the top 18, they won't participate in their own Bobby Moore level as they skip to level 2. And we have started the race, which has a lot riding on it today as the lower ranked teams try to catch up to the leading 18. Several teams make it into level 3, most of them come from the top 18 as you would expect. Maradona's hand is keeping them all out at the moment, and we can tell the English won't be happy about that. Hungary, Belgium and Sweden are the first to enter Zidane's headbutt level. It will be interesting to see how France do on this one. Looks like Hungary and surprises Lithuania are doing well and are breezing past the levels easily. Lithuania have never made the World Cup before and it would be a huge achievement for them. We can see many teams are entering the final level, but it is only a race for the top 16 places. There will be no playoff spots for this race. It looks like there is a fairly even amount of teams in the top 18 and teams that won't, as I think I can see Moldova in there too. Slovenia are looking good coming down the left-hand side. Will they be the first to qualify? It looks like they won't, as they're stopped by Moldova, who take first place, creating a blockage on the left side. Hopefully that gets unblocked soon. It does get unblocked, and we have some more finishes as Lithuania, Albania, Slovenia, Belgium and Romania all finish. It may be coming home as England qualify behind Austria, Cyprus and their neighbours Wales. And the race is over as 6 teams qualify after England, including Switzerland, Bulgaria, Spain, Luxembourg, Estonia and Czech Republic, with another British member Scotland misses out barely. Looks like channel favourites Gibraltar have been knocked out, which is good, so that no one can comment on my channel saying that this is scripted. San Marino are also yet to get their World Cup win, as other teams that miss out include Portugal, France, Germany, Netherlands and Italy yet again. It looks like my hype for Norway has ended early too, as they finish in last place in this race. So here are the teams that have qualified for the World Cup. However, before we get into that, we need to do the playoff first to get the last 2 teams in. Of course, as the World Cup is being played in Canada, Mexico and the USA, they automatically qualify for the World Cup race. Saudi Arabia and Colombia are the favorites for this race, having competed at the World Cup in recent years, but there is also El Salvador, who have qualified twice and currently have the record for the biggest World Cup defeat, losing 10-1 against Hungary. This playoff race is going to begin shortly, as this is their last chance to get a place in the World Cup. Here we go, as the teams will have to complete all of the levels this time, as it is a playoff. It looks like we are getting a strong start from African side Cape Verde, who enter level 2 on their first try. El Salvador also join them, hoping to return to the World Cup for the 3rd time. The rest of the teams are struggling to catch up to them. However, this is not a sprint, this is a Bob's Marble race, which means it is always anyone's game. Cape Verde seems like they are wanting this World Cup spot, as they enter level 3. Now they're on to level 4 with no one in sight behind them. Looks like I spoke too soon, as Oceania side Papua New Guinea join them quickly in level 4. The favorites Colombia and Saudi Arabia are trailing behind them, looking to catch up to get their World Cup tickets. Saudi Arabia are on level 4 looking to take the lead, as El Salvador join Colombia in the level behind. Poor Bermuda are stuck on level 1, hopefully they can catch up to the rest of the pack soon. It looks like Cape Verde enter level 5 first, looking to continue their dominance in this race. Now they've flown ahead and look like they could finish the race in first place as they enter the final level. El Salvador are only just 1 level behind them. It looks like these two are the favorites to make the World Cup now. El Salvador enter the final level, but it does look like there is time for a late comeback by Papua New Guinea. Even Saudi Arabia could still make the comeback here, it's just about who can get to the bottom first and second. It looks like that El Salvador will finish the race in first place as they get their spot in the World Cup race. Just following behind is Cape Verde, who will compete in their first ever World Cup. It was a close race, as Saudi Arabia looks like they would have came in 3rd place in that race, just missing on the World Cup. Now that we have our final 2 teams, we can now see who have qualified for the 2026 World Cup. If these predictions actually come true, I deserve some sort of award, as there is no way that we will have so many debutants. We have finally made it to the 2026 World Cup in the USA, Mexico and Canada. All 48 teams are here and ready to race to get the World Cup trophy. Some favorites to win this race are 5 times winners Brazil, who are looking for a 6th star on their badge. We also have the most recent champions Argentina, who won the World Cup 4 years ago and are looking for a 4th World Cup win today. The question on everyone's lips is it coming home, as England have had a long wait since their last win and are looking to see if today might be their day. The only other previous winner on this race is Spain, who won the race with a late goal in the final. Every other team in this race have never won a World Cup before, as chocolate lovers Belgium and Switzerland are the pick of the bunch to win their first title. However, this is the World Cup final race, and we know from qualifying that any team can win this race. Our North American hosts would want to get their race off to a great start in front of their home fans. We are about to get underway. The wait is almost over, unless you skip to this part of the video. And we have started. Who will be crowned victorious today as they all enter the first level of the race? Despite being on their home level, England try to get to level 2 first, but Bobby Moore lets them down as it might not be coming home. Nigeria start the race strongly as the first to enter level 3. Could we see an African win for the first time today? We might, just as they enter level 4 along with South Americans, Bolivia. Bolivia and Japan join together to get to level 5, leaving Nigeria behind in level 4. Both teams enter the second to last level, hoping for their first World Cup win. Japan enter the last level. Will we see the first ever Asian World Cup winner of this race right now? Bolivia and Nigeria join Japan as they're all looking for that golden prize to add to their empty cabinets. Bolivia are getting very close to the end, and it looks like it will be too late. Bolivia are your 2026 World Cup champions. And Nigeria will take second place in this World Cup race. Bolivia were last at the World Cup in 1994 in the United States, but have now returned to the US to win the whole race. It looks like we will get a third place in Japan. Bolivia, Nigeria and Japan were all dominant throughout the race, all without ever winning the World Cup. Bolivia have only ever got one World Cup point before today, when they drew with fourth place getters today South Korea in 1994. If this World Cup race becomes a reality, the world will go crazy. Now let's see where everyone else finished. We can see Spain did well in this race, but only managed 5th place. Well, now I can see why there weren't many teams at the end with major blockages in level 2. But at least they made it that far, as it seems Dominican Republic couldn't even reach level 2. Very poor from them. At least with the blockages in this race, I can prove that this race was done without any scripting. And here is our podium, with Bolivia at the top alongside Japan and Nigeria. Bolivia are also rumored to host the next World Cup with some of their South American neighbors. Will they be able to defend their title there?